Hi, my name is Lucia Osborne-Crowley. I am the author of My Body Keeps Your Secrets, which is published by the Indigo Press on the 2nd of September. I'm just going to give you a short reading from the book. This is from the opening chapter, and so hopefully sets up what I'm trying to achieve with this work. When I was 25, I had a breakdown. I am still not sure whether it was primarily physical or mental, but as I am discovering and rediscovering all the time, the distinction between the two is very slippery. I became sicker than I had ever been. The pain was worse than ever, and I developed intense tremors in my arms and legs. I was throwing up nearly every day, either from the pain or the excessive doses of painkillers that I was using to try and numb it. I lost 7 kilos in 2 weeks. I desperately needed help. So I decided to tell the truth about my rape for the first time. I told one of my therapists and then one of my doctors. The house of cards began to fall, slowly at first, and then very, very quickly. As I was deciding whether to disclose my rape, I read a book by the psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk called The Body Keeps the Score. It is all about how the body remembers what the mind has suppressed, about how the body will carry scars of our experiences forever, no matter how badly we want to erase them. That phrase just kept ringing in my ears for weeks. The body keeps the score. The body keeps the score. As soon as I read that phrase, I knew it was true. Almost all of the pain, suffering, and illness recounted to me for this book is about keeping secrets. I first realized this when I started my own recovery from a rape I had never spoken of, childhood sexual abuse I had never admitted to, and the stress and toxicity that came from 10 years of trying to outrun those basic biographical facts about myself. It occurred to me then that the thing that made me the sickest, the thing that made me suffer most, was the fact that I felt so compelled to hide what had been done to me, because I believed it was my fault. I wanted to test this theory, to see if it held true for other women and non-binary people too. People whose stories were more everyday than mine, more relatable. I spoke to almost 100 women and non-binary people for this book, and in every instance my theory turned out to be right. Everyone I spoke to had either been dehumanized or had had their personal dignity invaded at one point or another. They had all been made to feel afraid and then ashamed. They had all felt they needed to stay quiet about the worst things that had ever happened to them. The stories are all different, but their impact is the same. It's about the way we carry this impact with us. It's about the way we are taught to be ashamed of our own oppression. It's about the gaslighting on the grandest scale. It's about feeling unable to speak the truth. It is, in a single word, about shame. Shame is the emotion that compels us to keep secrets. It comes from the outside, but it lives within. It is a very complicated demon. Joseph Burgo, a clinical psychologist who has dedicated the best part of his career to researching shame, says in his book, Shame, that the emotion arises from a few key experiences. One is feeling exposed, that is, the fear of being seen. Another is unrequited attachment, love, or affection, the shame of being rejected. Another is failing to meet societal expectations, the burning shame of failing to fit the archetype you were born into. Another is the feeling of exclusion based on some inherent rottenness inside of us, the feeling that we deserve bad things because we are fundamentally bad, that we deserve to be isolated, to be excluded. It strikes me that those 4 categories can, between them, sum up every single story in this book. All of those experiences lead to shame, and shame leads us to keep secrets, and secrets leads to suffering and illness and pain. In Healing the Shame That Binds You, Bradshaw says that when our lives get overtaken by chronic shame, we create a false self to present to the world, one that we think is worthy. Every story in this book is about how we learned the value of the false self, how we unlearned it, and the price we paid trying to attain it. As the false self is formed, Bradshaw says, the authentic self goes into hiding. The false self is a masterpiece. The false self is hard work. Because the false self is an act of overcompensation for a part of us we believe to be damaged, He says, it is always either more than human or less than human. It is crucial to see that the false self may be as polar opposite as a super-achieving perfectionist or an addict in an alley, he writes. Everybody who perpetuates shame, and that is all of us, must now work to tame it. We must do that because then everybody who lives in shame will be able to ask, which parts of myself have I buried in order to survive? Who would I be if I were not a false self?